Over the past 10 years, 7 countries, including the United States and Canada, have invested more than $12 trillion on fossil fuel subsidies. Only 7 countries spent more than $12 trillion on fossil fuel subsidies in 10 years. A lot of people are saying, I've heard this a lot of times, even from people who think they're quite intelligent, they're educated, they have a university degree. They say EV subsidies are wrong. It's not a good idea to subsidize renewable energy, to subsidize batteries or solar technology or electric cars, because everything should be on a level playing field. Internal combustion engine cars, the fossil fuel industry, it doesn't receive subsidies. I mean, it should all be fair. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Now, obviously, if you've got any brains in your head, you'll know that everything I just said then was completely false. Here's a little story I can share with you. A lot of Republicans, a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump, believe what Trump says about windmills. They believe that wind power is terrible, that wind turbines will last less than 10 years, they can't be recycled, they're terrible for the environment, rah, rah, rah. But the interesting part about all of this is that the 5 states in the US that are most heavily invested in wind, and obviously the one state that dwarfs every other state in America for wind power, they're all Republican, and that's Texas. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how Republicans feel about some of these claims that wind power is a shocking idea, that it's terrible for the environment, that it's too expensive, rah, 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 when Republican states are installing wind in record numbers, much more so than states that are traditionally blue. Anyhow, getting back to the subsidies. Fossil fuel subsidies now have reached more than $2 trillion in just 7 countries. That's Australian dollars. So that's about 1.3 trillion US dollars. The G7 group of industrialized nations failed on a 2016 pledge to phase out inefficient fossil fuel subsidies by 2025, according to a report commissioned by NGO, Greenpeace Company Germany. Indeed, the total volume of fossil fuel subsidies rose 15% from $1.2 trillion in 2016 to $1.36 trillion in 2023. Now, Australia is a big part of this, by the way. I've got a separate video coming on Australia's contributions. We are subsidising fossil fuels in Australia approximately $10 billion a year. In fact, it's closer to $11 billion a year, but it's a lot of money for a small country. I mean, we only have 27 million people in this country here. But getting back to these fossil fuel subsidies, $1.36 trillion in 2023. Was anyone saying that subsidies for renewable energy are unfair? These are the numbers, guys. These are the facts. You can share this with your friends. Really, fossil fuels are getting subsidized to the tune in only those countries, in only 7 countries, of $1.36 trillion a year. Of the G7 states, Canada was the only one to reduce fossil fuel subsidies with an 11% decrease since 2016. In 2023, the United States spent the most on subsidies, followed by Japan and Germany. Greenpeace Germany said lower energy consumption during the COVID-19 pandemic saw a temporary reduction in subsidies, but spiking energy prices following Russia's invasion of Ukraine increased support for coal, oil, and gas in G7 countries. Reneweconomy.com.au, and I'll put a link in the description below to their article, says that in Germany, price breaks for gas and electricity, lower VAT on gas, lower taxes on gas, as well as relief for industry made up 38% of 2023's fossil fuel subsidies. Some of those temporary measures are still in place, though, said the report. So they said they were emergency measures, but they kept those emergency measures in place. Eliminating fossil fuel subsidies is a crucial step toward reducing greenhouse gas emissions and fulfilling climate targets, said Greenpeace Germany. In 2023, Germany's Council of Experts on Climate Change advised abolishing climate-damaging subsidies, among other measures. Now, obviously, that didn't happen. In 2024, once again, more than $1 trillion was spent on fossil fuel subsidies. Another 2023 report by FOS criticized Germany's government for failing to reduce subsidies it described as superfluous, ineffective, and harmful to the climate and the environment, adding that failure to do so was hindering the green transition. Now, I realize a lot of people believe that the green transition is about feelings. They think it's about feelings. It's about how we feel about the environment. It's just because it's wacko feelings. But actually, it's not the case at all. It's actually about data. It's about costs. Renewable energy is much, much cheaper than any other form of energy. Solar is the cheapest form of energy on the planet. Now, a lot of people would counter by saying, yeah, but solar needs battery backup. And they would have been right. That's true. But now, solar and battery backup is still cheaper than coal. For the first time ever, that happened in 2024. So actually, renewables are definitely cheaper than fossil fuels. Now, here in Australia, we have an electricity company. It's shutting down its biggest coal power plant. In fact, the biggest coal power plant in Australia is being shut down. And a lot of Australians think to themselves, this must just be because of those green freaks, those renewable energy freaks. And there are billboards, massive billboards that I'm seeing now driving around my city, driving in Newcastle, saying that green energy will cost us the earth. That's what it says, these billboards. It will cost us the earth. It's insane. It's obviously completely fake news. That coal power plant, the biggest in Australia, is being shut down because it loses money every single week. And if a company is losing money, it can't continue to actually stick with this business. Eventually, it will declare bankruptcy. So companies are moving away from fossil fuels, not because it's fantastical and it feels Disney-like and it's a fantasy and it's butterflies and feels good. It's simply because it makes financial sense. It's cheaper to use solar and batteries in most places around the world. Yes, there are some cold places where it's winter for too long and you shouldn't live in those places because it sucks to be there. I feel sorry for you. Those places, it's not the case that solar and batteries is cheaper than fossil fuels. Unfortunately, not yet. It will be, but it just hasn't happened yet. But keep in mind, 90% of the world does not live in those countries. 90% of the world lives on the Sun Belt. That's a true fact. So 90% of the world, it's cheaper to install solar and batteries today. That's not a future. That's not a utopia that's going to happen in 2040. That's right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The exponential growth of solar worldwide has done some remarkable things, but people haven't really noticed this. Over the next few years, solar is on track to be installed at such a rapid pace that more solar panels will be installed over the next 2 to 3 years than the entire fleet of nuclear reactors worldwide combined times 8.